Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. We're super excited to bring to you today another episode of some of our interviews from Keller Williams Family Reunion convention back in Anaheim, California, just last month in February. And on today's episode, we have two rock star women leaders that we got the privilege of interviewing that I know you're going to find so much value out of. The first one is none other than Kristan Cole. Linda and I know Kristan through the John Maxwell Network, also outside of the Keller Williams Network. Kristan has built a top 10 expansion team inside of Keller Williams across the country. She runs multiple businesses. She's just a humble, down-to-earth person. And I actually had so many takeaways and took so many notes from our time interviewing with Kristan, and we know that you're going to love it. Next up, we have the amazing Jen Davis. Jen is a very well-loved leader from Linda and I's perspective. She is now the president of MAPS Coaching inside of Keller Williams. She runs a large team with her partner, Dan Holt, and she shares a lot of great wisdom as well. So enjoy these awesome interviews today. Thank you again for listening. Linda and I appreciate all the likes and the reviews and the ratings that you guys are consistently giving us. Please share the episodes if you like them on your social media and tag us. We love sharing them back and seeing what you guys are loving that we are putting out there. And as always, if you have any suggestions, please email us at info@everythinglifeandrealestate.com. Have a blessed week and enjoy the episode.
Well, welcome everyone. We're at our second day of our first ever Radio Row at Keller Williams Family Reunion in Anaheim, and we're super excited. Dana and I have our guest this afternoon, Miss Kristan Cole, which Kristan and I go way back. I don't even know when, but long Howard Britton days. So super excited. But she has like blown up the world since then. She's been super busy. I mean, like just crushing it. So Kristan, welcome.
Thank you.
We at least get to see each other at the John Maxwell event.
Yes,
That's true.
That's true. That's true. We're all big John fans. So Kristan, tell the world a little bit about you. You were kind of born, then what happened? Cliff Note version, of course.
Cliff Note version.
I know a lot's happened.
Pardon me?
I said, I know a lot's happened.
Yeah. Grew up in a small town in Alaska and went to college, came home, started my real estate career, and just really was determined to work hard and be successful, not for success sake, but I grew up really poor, and then my parents, circumstances such, they decided they didn't want to be parents anymore, and my brother ended up homeless when we were 11 and 12.
Wow.
And it's like Ed Milet just said, those are the markers in your life that you just make a decision that you're going to do something different. So today, fast forward, last year, I think we closed about $750 million in volume. I think 16 or 17 million in GCI. And most of the time I'm in Arizona, but we're in a lot of other locations, but my expansion location is Arizona, which my family's super happy about because they come back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
So, while it's funny because Tim Heil told me the other day, he's like, I'm working harder than I've ever worked in my life. And I am too, but it's not, I'm doing what I love.
Yeah.
So to me, back in the day, I had a financial freedom number that I knew I needed to get to, so that then I got up every day and did what I wanted to do. And I found myself at that number and getting up every day and doing the same thing I've always done.
Yeah. But it's different when you're doing it because you want to, not because you have to.
Yeah, it is way different. And, all the things that, whether I've learned it from John or learned it from Ed or other people, for me, it's like, I'm super excited when I get to participate in changing young people's lives.
Oh, wow.
I so wish that I had that when I was young. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter that I did it. What does matter is I have the opportunity to do it now. And so most of the people in my world are, I think other than one person, everybody that works with me every day is younger than 40.
Yeah.
And several of them in their early 30s. And so I I had dinner with a bunch of them last night, and I'm just so excited to see them winning and to see them, because they'll say, how did you know to do that? I'm like, well, when you've been in this business 39 years and been through several recessions, I said, the names of the recession and why they occurred change, but what you have to do in that moment doesn't.
Right.
So
Okay, this was not a question that we had, but one of the questions that we've talked about this before. What do you think it is that had you, okay, let me back up. Some people have a life like what you had and they go a very different path.
Yeah.
yes.
And then some people don't like you or like us.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, what do you think is that difference maker? Like, is it a God? I mean, I know part of it's a God thing, but what else do you think it is?
It's interesting because I have a brother and a sister, and my brother and I went one direction, my sister went the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I think the thing I'm most happy about is, even though she went the other direction and I helped her go through many rehabs and go through 3 different stints in prison.
Wow.
But what I would say is that, my sister died last May. It hasn't even been a year.
Wow.
And
Sorry.
When Ed Milet was talking about, you might only have one more moment with them. I remember I got out of church one day and he had just taught on the prodigal son. Well, how many times have you heard that?
Oh gosh.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But I felt super compelled to call my sister, and I just told her, I forgive you for everything.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And she called my daughter, and my daughter, she left a message, and my daughter still had the message when my sister passed away and forwarded it to me.
Wow.
And she just said she said, Tegan, this is just the most happy day. Your mother has forgiven me for everything. And I am so happy. I'm so happy. God is so good. And that was March of 2020. And then last May, my sister still died of an overdose.
Wow.
Wow.
But I knew she went to heaven.
Yeah.
I knew she felt forgiven.
Yeah.
And so, those are powerful things. So why did my sister go in that direction? Why did my brother and I go in another? It's other than, because at that time I didn't know Christ, but I've always felt compelled. I felt like I had something in me.
Yeah.
And I never lived with my parents again, neither did my brother. My mom, I am totally reconciled with both my parents today. And interestingly enough, you can't make this stuff up. My mom's husband passed away 4 years ago from cancer. And she goes, I don't know what I'm going to do. And Danny's like, oh, you're going to move in with us.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see how just bizarre that is?
Yeah.
And people say to me, how did you have the grace to forgive her? How could you? But you know what? If I hadn't done that, my children, adult children, wouldn't be who they are today. So that's a very long answer and doesn't really answer the question of why I went a certain direction. I just felt compelled.
Yeah.
No, that was a great answer.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, God has a plan.
Yeah.
We just have to trust the plan no matter what's going on in our life, right?
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
do the next best thing we can do.
Yeah, I agree. And it did make me a very I'm one of those people that I will never ever give up on someone or on any. I mean, I'm just one of those people that have learned that, and I have a lot of endurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kristan, because I've known you so long, there are real estate agents who still do the same thing they did back when you and I were doing it and on stage with
Right.
Howard.
Yeah.
And yet you have managed to propel this. You just won one of the biggest awards at Keller Williams yesterday or day before. And you have propelled yourself to such amazing success, something that you and I could have never seen back before because it wasn't even talked about. To me, when you get more and more successful, sometimes that fork in the road or that next big thing, people get complacent and they don't do it. What propelled you to say, wow, this is going to be big and this is exciting, and I'm going to try to do this expansion thing and build
Yeah.
this empire that I've built?
You were really, the first. Really the first.
Yeah, I think the one thing was, because I've been in it long enough, I've gone through 6 major recessions. And once you've been through the first one, and I knew it, and I got through it and actually did really well. I told everybody all the time, when somebody said a recession was coming, I was happy, not happy for the consequences for some people. But I knew that I knew there was going to be opportunity. And what's so funny is when COVID hit and everybody was so paralyzed, I said, you guys, yeah, there is going to be massive opportunity, but here's what we have to do. We have to run to the problem. Because you have to be in the middle of the problem to see the opportunity. And so I think for me, Linda, is I have always my entire life seen problems as opportunities.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, I know everybody else says this, but if I can turn this into an opportunity so I'm always looking for opportunities.
Right.
And they look like big fat problems.
Yeah.
We always talk about that.
Yeah. And when somebody says to me, they come to me and they say, oh, they'll start whining about something. I said, guys, what problem are we really trying to solve?
Yeah.
And because oftentimes people get wound up in things that aren't really the problem.
Right.
And so I think what I'm good at is discernment.
Oh yeah.
So true.
Discerning where the problem really is.
Yeah.
And I can see in a nanosecond what we need to do. And people are like, how do you see all of that?
Yeah.
I really believe it's just one of the gifts God gave me is,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, a problem name is a problem solved. And
Yeah.
most people can't name the problem, so they never solve it. They just go
Right.
round and round
Right.
and round and
Exactly.
round in it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it makes
That's
it fun.
amazing.
Man. Okay, I don't know how much. I don't think we have very much time, but we had
good.
3 more questions we really wanted to ask.
We got about 6 more minutes.
Oh, we do? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay. Let's quickly hit burnout. That's a huge topic.
And people are looking for solutions in the
Yeah.
greener pastures and
Yeah.
everything right now.
What do you
I
do to
don't
avoid
know. I don't know if you're going to like my answer, but it's the truth. I know that people have a lot of burnout. For me, the way that, because I thought I did read that question. I thought about it. I thought the way that I avoid it is staying in the lane of what I can control.
it? Yeah.
Yes.
And I think so many people worry about things they can't control. You can't control them. So, but what brings calm to me, honestly, is I have a lot of habits that are ridiculous. I know they're ridiculous. I go to bed super early. I get up super early. I'm always prepared, blah, blah, blah. But those are all things I can control.
Right.
And it brings a calmness to me by staying in that lane.
That's
I'm
good.
not super social. I don't go out.
Yeah.
I don't, just very rarely. And so I just stay in the lanes of things I can control, which makes me feel more confident.
Mhm.
And burnout, I don't know that I've ever felt that way. I will say this. There's times I've had a glimmer of maybe a tiny bit of anxiety about something. Because I haven't had, my business career has always done really well. I've had all the personal challenges, so there's been some anxiety once in a while, but what I've done to feel better is just by following a schedule and a calendar and staying in things that I can control.
That's a really good point.
Now, I know you've, or at least I've heard you've taken advantage of some big opportunities that came your way. How do you know which opportunities to say yes to and which ones to say no to?
Good question.
I would say it's not a money thing. It has to be within what I believe is my personal mission statement and my business mission statement. And within the real estate, like the people who touch the real estate transaction, I'm not going to go and try to buy a Taco Bell or something.
Yeah.
Right.
I've done real estate my whole life. So for me, when an opportunity comes my way, I'm just like, is there alignment?
Mm.
Is there alignment with who I say I am? Is there alignment with who I believe I am? And if there's not alignment with the people, especially, I'm probably going to pass no matter how much money is involved, because I know I won't be passionate about it.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you a story. My financial guys came in from New York in November and wanted to meet with me and everything. I had my brother there because he's the executor of my will. And when they finally like added all the things that I had done in the past couple of years to our whole thing, I covered my eyes. I didn't want to see the number.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to know that. Like I don't want how much money I do or don't have to change what I do. I like what I do. I'm super passionate about it. and I don't want money to be a factor.
Right.
So I don't even, it was so funny. My brother like, take your hands away. You got to look at this number. So, but I'm really weird about that. I don't want to know. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's
Well, most people I find, if they're doing their passion and their purpose and they're bringing value to the world, you can't keep the money away. And
Yeah.
most people like that are not really doing it about the money, but
Yeah.
they can't keep the money away because you're bringing value to the world.
And that's probably one of the best things about you and my people love to work with you, because that they know that that's how you are as a person. And whether that number was really great or really bad, you're going to keep doing what you're doing every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I'd also say, for those listening, the personal net worth, it was definitely a hockey stick for me.
Yeah.
Because I remember calling my friend Ben Kenny about maybe 3 years ago, and I'd had this same meeting, and they had it, so I called him and I said, "Hey Ben, here's the bottom line," and here I was 3 years later, and it had, I don't even not quadrupled, what 5 times greater.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so how fast that went. I'm like, how did that happen? Because it was, making your first million is hard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The hardest.
Yeah.
Hard. Second million is a little easier. And beyond that, it's like, it's almost like you said, you can't keep it from happening.
Yeah.
You're doing the right things.
Right.
But that makes me think about what Ed Milet just said. And it's because you had momentum. Like once you
Right.
get that
Yeah.
momentum,
Yeah.
then you're just rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, and I've taken your expansion classes last year. You have a great team. Your guys phenomenal. You guys are so giving and so helpful. And as Matt and I have been working on Team Ridge, I'm like, call Kristan's team. They're phenomenal and they're giving. But what advice would you give people? Because you've scaled this into an enormous business.
This was my selfish question.
Yeah.
And then I do, when we interview people, we ask them something selfish. And this was mine. This was my selfish
Yeah.
one.
What advice would you give people to scale something to the size that's a bigger size than they can probably even imagine?
I would say they have to work on the foundation of it first, because otherwise you're going to be well, first of all, you're going to break stuff anyway, but you're going to be constantly, well, I'd say it differently. We have a good foundation, but we have re-engineered it so many times, because you start one way, like back in the day with like little note cards.
Yeah.
Right. And then even with expansion, we at first we used all these Google Sheets and a Google Drive and all of that. And now we have it on a very, very robust platform that we can onboard 50 people tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to get used to the fact that building it, you're gonna have lots of iterations, because you're gonna find that along the way that you get to a certain size and this won't cut it anymore.
Yeah.
And then you have to go find the answer for what to do. So I'd say just be okay with the fact that there's really never an end game to it. You're constantly building it. And anything I do in the market centers has already had a trial run in my expansion world. I know if it works for expansion, it'll work in the market center.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's been fun. Right now is really fun. I'm super excited. And for people, I think about relationships, and I said it yesterday on stage, because someone came to me with a problem.
Yeah.
I can't get to this guy. He won't return my calls. I want him on my podcast. Can you help me?
Yeah.
I think I can help you. And then what it turns into is now we're business partners.
Yeah.
And we have the exclusive rights to something that everybody wished they had exclusive rights to in Arizona. And so that in of itself, I mean, it's only been 3 months. We signed September 16th. It is going to, you think my world's big now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Gonna blow up.
I think how Ed wanted his dad to be proud of him. I believe I will make Gary Keller extremely proud, because we will finally get Arizona to be what
It
he
needs
always
to be.
wanted it to be.
Yes.
And not because of me, but because of the relationship and partnerships that I've been able to, influence in Arizona, that now I believe we're just going to take massive territory.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
cool.
excited for you.
Yeah.
And if you haven't and you're listening, take any class Kristan gives,
Yes.
especially your expansion class, but any class. So
Well, the one at that class, it's a MAPS class that I teach. It's called Scale Your Business. I think that you can just go to my KristanColeNetwork.com. And that class is a MAPS course, and it's over 8 weeks. And once a week, we teach you the foundations of building a business, any business.
yeah.
And we teach you how to do it. and make each piece of it disruptive.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
So another selfish question. Is that you or is it videos?
What?
Both the class?
Oh, no, it's me.
It's you, right?
And
Like,
yeah,
it's you?
yeah, it's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
I know. I'm
it's not,
signing up
it's
for
not,
that.
We're going to be in that class.
Yeah.
it's not Memorex.
We're going to go to your class,
It is.
and we invite everybody listening to join us.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
love it because I love teaching that class, because it's not good enough that they tell me this is going to be my lead gen lever, or this is going to be how the top of the funnel. I said, well, why that one and not this one?
Yeah.
Have you thought through this?
Yeah.
One will produce a way bigger result than the other, given what's going on right now. I make them
Yeah.
think
Think about it.
critically.
Yeah.
And design it based on, at the end of the day, are you going to have a disruptive business, or are you just going to be like everybody else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
So
Yeah.
I
Love
Love
it.
it.
really
I'm
love it.
excited. Well, we
Man.
could have gone on forever with
No,
Kristan.
this is might be my favorite one yet so far.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you, Kristan. We appreciate you, and have the great rest of your conference.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Awesome.
Okay, we're back with another amazing guest, one of our dear friends, Miss Jen Davis. Welcome.
And we
Thank
knew her
you.
before she was so
We
successful.
did know her before. We can.
I mean,
say,
she's
like,
always successful, but
remember us.
like
Yes.
she just moved to like royalty. though.
Yes, she
I did not. I did not. I actually just tried to share a sandwich with your husband.
Awesome.
Okay, so we've been starting with you were born and then what, but just like a quick little
Okay.
tell us who you are.
So I was born in Nebraska. So I grew up in a really tiny town in Nebraska, and then ended up in Springfield, Missouri, for college, work, family, all that good stuff. And after I had my first daughter, got into real estate. And so I didn't start out with KW, jumped into real estate really as a way to buy investment properties, and kind of everything evolved from there. Like, I mean, no major.
Did you do anything before real estate? Or have you
I
only-
did. At right outside of college, I worked at Bass Pro Shops at the corporate office of Bass
course.
Pro, because it was in
for Mr.
Springfield.
Johnny Morris.
Yep.
We're like his biggest fan club. He just doesn't know it.
Well, let's meet him.
Oh, I have met him. But-
Let's bring him on here.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get
Let's
him on
do
the
that.
podcast.
So I worked there, and then I worked at a business brokerage, and then from there I was married at the time, and we bought a hair salon.
Mm.
And so I own a hair
Did you know how to
salon.
cut hair?
No, still don't. I do buy a lot of product though,
I like hair, and I have some.
and I like it to look nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why not buy a hair salon?
That seems right.
Hope everybody shows up tomorrow, though.
That seems right. No, so we when I worked at the business brokerage, I was learning about P&Ls. And so this business came in, and I was like, this looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And so we had the conversations, kind of dove into it and bought it. And then a week before I had my daughter, a lady walked in the salon and said, "Hey, is this for sale?" And at 9 months pregnant, I was like, "It sure is.
Right as of right now.
You
it just-
can have
is,
it.
yeah.
How much are you willing to pay me for it?"
Well, how much check do I need to write you?
I'll do whatever it takes.
So then let's fast forward from then to today. Tell us just quickly about your time with KW and all you've accomplished, because I know it's a lot.
Well, I've been at Keller Williams 10 years. So Dan Holt recruited me 10 years ago, and recruited me through that, the KW program or class, Win with Buyers.
Oh yeah.
He had been recruiting me for 6 months, and I kept saying no. And so he sent me to a class, and then I was like, there's something different about
Oh,
KW.
which actually, I'm so glad you said that, because both of the profit share classes that I taught this week, I said, I need to know the percentage, but I know it's higher than 80. Join us because they attended an event.
Yeah.
Oh, I would imagine it's higher than that, because it doesn't feel salesy, right?
Yeah.
You just all of a sudden see what you could
Yeah.
be
Well,
exposed to.
you get to self-discover what a relationship with this company could look like.
That's exactly right. So I joined 10 years ago last fall, and I joined as Dan's buyer's agent. And so I was his buyer's agent for 6 years, built out the buy side of the business. And the idea was I was going to build a team within a team. And so we really followed MREA model on the buy side, just I'm going to hire an admin, and then we're going to get lead generation support, and then we're going to get showing support. And then 6 years in, Dan had taken some additional opportunities, one to be an OP and then eventually to be an RD. And I bought into the business. So we had it valued. I bought in and started running the team, became CEO of Holt Homes Group. We sell 500 to 600 houses every year. And a year ago, not quite, 6 months ago, feels like a
I
year.
was gonna say, has it been a year?
No, 8 months maybe. I became the vice president of MAPS coaching.
Love it.
Which Jen's so good. She sold me a house and she's selling one of my houses.
Right now?
Yeah.
Love
I
it.
gave Jimmy an award yesterday and he was like, this is my realtor. And I was like, yes, I am.
I
Yeah.
love
We've
it.
got one under contract right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love
We're
it.
Getting our furniture.
Clear
out.
to close.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. Well, one of the topics we've been talking a lot about, Jen, is burnout. And just a lot of agents are and business owners are experiencing it or they have. Or one thing we talk about a lot is instead of going really deep on what they have, they're like,
Trying to look for a new shine.
Yeah, I want to go do this or I want to go do that. So talk to us a little bit about burnout. How do you avoid it when you have it? Have you ever had it? How do you get out of it?
I think we've all had it. I think one of the things I do to avoid it is I have a very clear sense of priority. What's my mission, right? What's the mission that we're going to accomplish, not just for a year? What's the goal, right? Like what's the legacy we actually want to leave? And I am very big into KW systems and models. So I have a GPS, I utilize a 411. If it's not on one of those things, I'm very likely to just say no to it.
That's great.
Now, is that 100% true? No, it's not 100% true. I would say it's about 90% true. 10% of the time I get distracted. Something else looks fun.
Yeah.
Something else looks easier or whatever else pops up. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I'm burned out. I'm tired. I don't have any time for myself. I don't want to do this anymore. All of those thoughts. And so what happens when I get there is typically I'm like, what has happened? Right? What's happened? And you look at it and you're like, okay, there's like a terminology that our pastor at our church uses, which is HALT. Like, am I hungry? Right?
Yes, I've heard this. Yes.
It's like, am I hungry? Am I angry?
Yeah.
Lonely?
Something, and then lonely and tired.
Yeah. I was just guessing there.
And so you kind of go through that. And I'm like, usually it's when I get to mine usually has all three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That or all four of there, right? Like
that's
I'm usually hungry.
Yeah.
And then
We
you
are
look at it
too.
That's
like,
what Jimmy asked me when I'm gripey. Are
Yeah.
you hungry?
Are you hungry?
Or do you not wash your hair?
one of the two. But you look at it and then you're like angry, lonely, or tired. And you look and you say, okay, well, who have I not connected with? If it's lonely, who have I
Ooh,
not
that's
connected
good.
with that gives me
So
joy
good.
or gives me energy?
Yeah.
If I'm tired, how tired am I? Like if
Yeah.
I look at it and I say on a scale of 1 being I'm ready to rock and roll and 10 being I'm exhausted and I can't get out of
Yeah.
bed. Where am I? If it's more than a 7, I need more than a day off.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good.
That's
Right?
good.
If it's under 7, is a long weekend going to help? Or is it something where I
Yeah.
need some extended time? Most often I find it's when I let others control my calendar is where that overwhelm and the lack of time
That's
comes
me
in.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think it's that white space. Like I think we're all doers. Like we want to go to the next thing. We want to be successful. We want to do all these
Yeah.
things. Yet at some point you got to actually think. Like I got to
Yeah.
have time to process
Yeah.
and move
Yeah.
stuff.
I actually just texted Heather yesterday and said, I know I get back tomorrow, but I don't need anything else on my calendar for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Because I have to like decompress from here
Yeah.
and I already have a couple things and I'm tired and I'm like, I don't like nothing else.
Well,
Yeah.
nothing good comes from that.
Yeah.
Like if you're in that space of the kind of that HALT process, you're like, nothing good. There's no good conversation that's going to come
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
There's no good idea that's going to come from
Yeah.
it. There's not a good decision that's going to come
Yeah.
from
Maybe a
it.
big mess you're going to create, but
Yeah.
that's it.
It
Yeah.
is, and it's you look at it and you're like, those are and people look at when I say that sometimes they'll say, well, what do you mean decisions, like business decisions? No, I mean any decision. What I'm going to eat, what I'm
Yeah.
going to drink,
Yeah.
what time I'm going to go to bed, what
Yeah.
I'm going to read, what I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
I make the more tired and burned out I am, the worse my decisions
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
And so
true.
it's the pattern interrupt of I've got to have some time off
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I can make better choices.
Okay.
Yeah.
One last question.
Yep.
We'll let you go. A lot of times in real estate, people are asking themselves, what else is there? Or, am I made for more? Those kind of questions. That's what I've been hearing a lot.
Yep.
When you're confronted, because you were confronted with a big opportunity,
Mhm.
totally different from what you're already doing. How do you make that decision? Because that's a big decision.
It is a big decision. And so, I am faith-based.
Yeah.
I am a believer. And so my decision this time boiled down to where will I make the most impact?
Yeah.
Mm,
And I can
That's
make
great.
an impact on my real estate team and our community and our buyers and sellers in Springfield. And then the opportunity with MAPS, when it presented itself, it was what if this is my calling?
Yeah.
I don't know that it's forever. I don't know the length of time that I'll get to be enrolled. Yet you think about the thousands of coaching clients that we have and the impact and the thought of I can be different. I can show that there's a different way to do things. I can make an impact. And so when I make a decision, that's usually what it is this for the greater good? Is it ego? Where in here does it lie? And if it's ego, I'm typically going to say no.
Yeah.
And if it's the greater good, I'm going to at least, it's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I was well prepared for it, yet here we are.
Well, I want to end with saying that you made a huge impact on me. And I think I've told you this, but I don't know, but I'm going to tell you again, because you gave me a book, Chase the Lion.
Mark Patterson.
Yes. And it's the best. It changed my life.
And we're going to get him on our podcast. We're not sure how. Do you know him?
My pastor does.
Okay.
Jeremy Johnson, who I coach once a month.
Oh,
knows him. He just went to see him in Orlando.
well, we've stalked him and we've been like putting out there that we want him on our podcast, because that book, I mean, I've bought hundreds at this point, hundreds of.
I sent you a copy, I think.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You sent
I love
that book and I read
Change your life. That's all she talks about.
That's all I talk about. It changed my life. Time, talent, treasure is the only thing I focus on.
That's how I introduced it, because I said that and you're like, I've never heard it said that way.
Yes.
And then I had to fess up that it wasn't my line.
Right.
Yeah,
yes. And then
fine.
I last year did a book club on it and had like almost 100 people on, and all we did was talk about the book and then pray when we were done. Like, it has been life-changing. So you made a huge impact on me just by sending me the book. So thanks, Jen.
Well, you are welcome. I love that.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well,
We'll have to have you back.
Yes, for sure. We definitely.
I appreciate you.
Awesome.
I love you
Appreciate
both.
you.
Also, you're so pretty.
We love you. Thanks.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.